It's the Daily Dog.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Dog. I am thankful that you are hanging out with me today because y'all, it is a Friday. We have made it to yet another end of the work week, and I am excited that you are here because we are returning to music by Genesis. It's been a minute since we've been listening to Genesis, and I am excited today to get to their Duke Suite. This recommendation for today's episode comes to us from our friend Ten. Thank you, Ten. And this suite comes from their 10th studio album. It was released in 1980. The album is called Duke. So, as I understand it, the band had been going through a period of transition for a number of years. They did The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which I have reacted to in its entirety on my Patreon. That came out in 1974, and that was the last album with Peter Gabriel. Okay, so they then come out in 1976 with both A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering as a four-piece, with Phil Collins doing the lead vocals. And then in 1978 with the album And Then There Were Three, that was their first as a trio after the departure of guitarist Steve Hackett. So we fast forward to 1979, the group took a break. Phil Collins moved to Canada to focus on his personal life. Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford both recorded solo albums. And then when Phil returned to the United Kingdom, the band reconnected and was rejuvenated as they began work on this album. Duke represents more evolution of the band's sound. As our friend Ten has told me, this album is a strange hybrid beast. In every release before Duke, Genesis is a prog rock band. In every release after Duke, Genesis is a pop band. Duke is the transition. It's a Prog-Pop album. The album is bookended by the Duke Suite, originally conceived as a single 30-minute piece, here split into multiple tracks that occur throughout. Their first radio hit, Turn It On Again, features within this suite. That one I have heard. And nicely encapsulates the album's hybrid nature. Its undeniable groove hides a deceptive, complex structure. While Collins plays a straightforward pop beat, the song is primarily in 13/8 with smatterings of various other time signatures thrown in. It is such a unique ride, and I love it so much. Thanks for the background information, 10. I will try to listen for that as we get there. So this suite, the Duke Suite, tells the story of a fictional character named Albert. And the working title was called Duke because some of the fanfare-like melodies and structures that the band was working on reminded them of royalty. So they had toyed with the idea of creating this side-long suite during the recording of the album, but they wanted to avoid comparisons to similar large suites that they had done in the past, like Supper's Ready. So they decided to split up the suite and disperse the songs throughout the album. The order of the suite and all of the songs that we're going to listen to today is Behind the Lines, Duchess, Guide Vocal, then on to side 2, Turn It On Again, and then the end of the album, Duke's Travels and Duke's End. So that's what we're up to today, y'all. I almost went with a live recording of them playing this suite in their entirety, but I have opted for the studio tracks from this. So we've got Tony Banks on keyboards, backing vocals, and 12-string guitar. Mike Rutherford is on the guitars, bass pedals, and backing vocals, and Phil Collins is on the lead vocals and the drums. So I am ready to dive in. I hope y'all are as well. This is going to be fun. I don't have a cocktail today. It's in the morning, so I have my coffee. So cheers, everybody. I think the only one of this that I have heard previously is, what's the one that I said I had heard? Turn It On Again. So other than that, I think this is going to be all a first listen for me. So I'm excited. Let's do it. But starting with Behind the Lines, the first track from Duke. Here we go. Okay, I've heard this sound before. So I've heard this, but I didn't realize what it was. And the bass is a C. While they're changing chords over the top of it, that's 4/1. Back to C. Cool. That pedal tone in the bass drives this forward, right? While everything else moves around it. 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. Syncopated rhythm there in the middle. Goes down to third. Down to the G. They're all over the place. This is cool. Whoa! They started in C. They ain't C anymore. They ended up down by a half step? See how sneaky that was? They went back up to it. They went up a half step to get to C. Then back down. Whoa! This is great. It's totally proggy to me, y'all. But definitely has a little bit more of a pop sensibility to it, doesn't it? Instead of that harder rock edge. It's full of energy. They moved into flats. Just give me the strength and I will help you. They can try their hardest because they don't frighten me. We have Duchess and Duke. Duchess is at this audition when she is called by Duke to perform, to audition. And they end up starting up this relationship, but it seems kind of superficial. The time has come now, we must show our feelings, but I'm looking right through you, and your heart is empty. So, not a long-term positive relationship. Whatever happened to you, it's too late to change now. There's nowhere you can run to, no place to hide. You let me down. Damn. What'd you do, Duke? And they get back where they started. It's written in the book. What does that mean, y'all? Is that the I don't know. No, you tell me. I don't know what that line means. The syncopation is just great, and that hits really nice and just right in the middle of that offbeat. And that's going to segue to the next song. I have this set up so that these are individual tracks, so that I can have a place to chat with you a little bit between each of these. That was a fun way to start, y'all. The next one is going to be called Duchess. And this one moves on to continue to chat about this other person in the relationship. So we've got Duke, and then Duchess, I think, is the performer. In this one, in the last one, actually, I should say the songwriting credit goes to the band. The lyrics, I think, are by Rutherford. And then in Duchess, I think Tony Banks handles the lyrics in this. So here is the second track, Duchess. Here we go. As that continues on, I think we're still in C. It calms down. It's a spacious transition. Anticipation. I'm curious as to what this is going to sound like. The drums are electronic, right? But pitched, right? Those percussive sounds have definite pitch to them, which may be the choice to use this particular type of sound. Beautiful soundscape. This is very effective. It's a long introduction to this. But now I feel like I'm completely out of that first song and now into this new song, and it's happened gradually, right? So now third person talking about Duchess. She just did what she would, although she really cared about her music. It all seemed so important then. And she dreamed that every time that she performed, everyone would cry for more. So she's just starting out, and she's got big dreams. She's dedicated to her craft. She's just dreaming of the time where people will, respond. Sounds like minor one, right? All right. But now, every time that she performed, everybody cried for more. So it's different now. She's achieving more success. We've moved on. And all the people cried, "You're the one we've waited for." Good for her. flat 6. Back to minor 1. But the time went by now, it wasn't so easy now. All uphill and the feeling not so strong. Times were hard. Okay, so Trouble in Paradise for the performer. Damn. And then there was a time that she performed when nobody called for more. Woo! So she must have fallen out of her dedication to her craft. The fans have noticed and they're letting her know. And now she's dreaming of the good old days. This is amazing. It's an amazing time-lapse tune. Really smart. I get the story completely, I think. She dreamed of, now she's dreaming of the time when everybody cried, "You're the one we've been waiting for." Interesting perspective from a band, you know, going through their own transition, right? Just minor 6. They were hanging out in B for a lot of that song, and now I think we're in G sharp. And I think that's going to segue into the next tune. All right, so I need to get the next tune up. The next one is going to be, I think, a shorter song called Guide Vocal. And this one, it says, is by Tony Banks. Now, we're continuing on with the story with Duke and Duchess. And as I read in, there are 2 verses here, and this is a short tune. The first verse is from the perspective of Duke, and the second verse is from the perspective of Duchess. So let's tune in and see what this one is all about. Here is Guide Vocal. Off we go. And it goes down to by 4th from, call it E flat. Right?
All you know and all you feel. Nobody must know my name, for nobody would understand, and you kill what you fear. I call you, for I must leave.
Okay, this is second verse.
On your own until the end. There was a choice, but now it's gone.
Dorian 4th. Where are they
I
now?
said you wouldn't understand. Take what's yours and be damned.
Did they end? That's the end of it. That's short, y'all. I'm going to do something that I don't often do. I need to hear the entire thing of that again. That was remarkable. And it went by so fast I didn't hardly catch it. So this first verse is from the perspective of Duke, and he sees Duchess as this successful artist that he has guided to fame, but then has fallen from grace, and he is saying that he needs to move on. I am the one who guided you this far. All you know and all you feel, nobody must know my name, for nobody would understand, and you kill what you fear. So he's being really accusatory. In the second verse, from the perspective of Duchess, kind of responding, she no longer loves Duke and realizes that he thinks of her as just a way to enrich his own career. She says, I call you, for I must leave. You're on your own until the end. There was a choice, but now it's gone. I said you wouldn't understand. Take what's yours and be damned. Right? So I want to hear it again. It's only, it's short. So let's hear it again. Off we go. So that's an E flat chord. It goes down by a whole step to the 4, 5. The 3 chord moves to the 7 chord, and it's a minor chord. And that's where it's weird because, hang on, normally the leading tone of a major key is a diminished chord, and by the time they start in E flat, and by the time they get around to the D, it's D minor, and so they're moving keys a little bit here. I'm going to keep going. Right? Back to E flat. For the next verse, same progression, E flat, D flat, down to A flat, the 5, right? D minor, G major over D minor. It's like they're in D minor for a second, right? When they started in E flat, and then they end on what would be the 5 chord, an A major chord, to D. And when you think about where they started, E flat, and where they end, A. 2 major chords, a tritone apart. I think it's musically sort of a setting of their relationship itself, moving in different directions, opposed to each other. E flat and A, it's kind of, that's interesting, isn't it? I love that. Guide vocal, Tony, that was cool. I really, really enjoyed it. So we're going to move on, and this is going to be the first song on side 2. This is Turn It On Again, and I have heard this one, y'all. The songwriting credit goes to the band. The lyrics are by Rutherford, and off we go, y'all. Let's do it. So catchy. There's that weird 13/8 that the guys are playing, and meanwhile Phil's just playing a straightforward pop groove, right? This is, as I read, one of the group's most beloved hit songs. And this is Duke now falling in love with his television. I get so lonely when she's not there. The last song on an A chord, and then there's other stuff after that. To start here, I believe they're in B. right? So it's like 6 plus 7, right? The slower version of that would be like 13/4, right? You know, the driving me mad line is astute. Yeah. I'll talk to you about that in a second. You know, I've heard this several times, but I've never really thought about what it meant. So, putting it in context with the larger story is a first-time experience for me, even though the music is familiar. I can see another face. That's the lyrics in parentheses while they're singing Turn It On Again. And that's the driving me mad part. Right? Here's what I think they mean. This one's going to fade out. The driving me mad thing. We're connected to the people that we see on the screen. We develop relationships with them. You have a relationship with me. Hi y'all, it's Doug behind the screen, right? But I'm not in the same room as you. So, and I'm not in real time with you. I am recording this in the morning on Friday, and the first time that this is going to be viewed by people is going to be in the afternoon after I edit it all together. So you're connected and we're together, but we're not connected in real time. And, you know, sometimes the screens can really be with us, the people on our screens, and it be a real relationship, right? And we can feel it, but it can also take us out of our current reality, for better or for worse. And I think that if it becomes this thing that gets in the way of your mental journey, then it can skew reality a bit, right? So I think that's what they're talking about. And of course, think back to that time period. I think it was one of the prevailing thoughts of that day. By 2022, we've been connected to our devices, you know, for several years, and we've become accustomed to it. And I wonder what long-term effects that is having on us, for good and for bad. It's a really interesting tune, now that I've put it into context with it. Poor Duke. Now he's just watching people on his TV screen, and he's lonely because Duchess is not with him. But we are going to move on to Duke's Travels. This is going to be the last two songs of the album, and off we go, y'all. Let's hit it. Songwriting credit on this one is again to the band. The lyrics are by Tony Banks. A held B. Not anymore. I always seem to do that. Once I figure out what it is, they change it. They went down by a third. Down by another third. Chromatic thirds, I think. B down to G, which is where they are now. They stay there harmonically. Man, their transitions are good. They really give you time to get from one musical idea to the other. Sometimes you want that. Sometimes you want to be really abrupt. But other times you want to just kind of overlap them and let it rest. Does sound like our good friend Duke is on an epic journey, isn't it? Doesn't it? Turns major. Turns back minor. Turns back major. Dominant though. Turns back minor. That's interesting. Back to major. On the same chord. Down by a whole step. 4, 5, 6. Well, that's odd. Just a straight old 5 to 1. C down to 5. Back to 1. No lyrics yet. There are lyrics in this, but again, another very long introduction. Revealing the progginess, the leftover progginess in the band, right? Because on a radio song, you typically don't hear an introduction this long, right? Are they ever going to sing? They're running out of time. Move into flats. Sounds so freaking cool, doesn't it? I am the one who guided you this far. to the guide vocal. I was trying to find where that vocal comes from, where that lyric comes from. It's a reprise of guide vocal. In a different key. That's amazing. Just keep turning that circle of fifths on me, y'all. And it's back in E flat. This is going to end. It's going to segue into the last song. That was so freaking cool, y'all. I don't know what to do with myself. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. The last song on the album is called Duke's End, and that's what this last one is going to segue into. I didn't even realize that the two short verses in Duke's Travels are the exact, I think they're the exact same lyrics as guide vocal. That's what happens when you cut and paste and not type it yourself. That's fascinating. And it was a different feel and it was in a different key. But by the time they got to the end of that, it ended up racking it back where guide vocal started, which is an E flat. Just an observation. I don't know if that has any circular meaning or anything. But we're going to end everything with Duke's End. This is an instrumental to finish out the album. Off we go. And it's a reprise of the very first tune. Totally makes sense. This would have been great as a full side of music, by the way. I understand, I think, the decision to separate the tracks throughout the album. You start with 3, and then you put a single in the middle, and then you end with the last 2. It makes sense to me why Genesis is such a long and has such a long career, you know, and important career. It's so catchy. The riffs and the licks are just catchy, but they're not so esoteric that we can't grasp what they're doing, right? The perfect blend of like what they became, really well-informed and excellent pop musicians, inspired by their prog beginnings, right? Which took the band into another level of the stratosphere in their popularity. That's just cool. And it ends. Curious as to what happened to the Duchess. That I don't think we ever got. Did she end up doing okay? Did she end up like reviving her career? What happens to Duke? Does he just go mad watching television for the rest of his days? It's kind of a sad story, isn't it? But it's also a story of how a career in the arts can be at times extremely rewarding and at times just an assault on everything you hold dear. And it gets hard. It's a hard career to be in making art because it's always subjective, and you will run across egos and backstabbers, and because it's a creative outlet, but it's also a business. And that, as I was teaching for the last decade plus, that's one of the major sort of emotional shifts that students coming in to study music as a career have to get their brain around, right? Because if you of course, you go into music school because music has become important in your life. You are either adept at performing it or understanding it or writing it, or you want to be involved in it somehow. You're going to go to college and you're like, all right, I want to be more involved in this. I want to spend more time in this. We're like, great, well, we'll show you how it all works. But if you're going to be successful in this business, you got to learn how to do your taxes. You got to learn how to market yourself. It's a business. You got to do the work. And some days you don't feel like doing it, but it's your job, right? So it can drive people mad. But it also can reveal really fantastic art and insight into just the workings of doing your gig, right? Of doing your job, and how that adulation and success and not having success can weigh on a person. And when our musicians effectively communicates those sorts of feelings and experiences to us in the songs, it makes sense and it becomes universal, because in any of our collective careers, I think some of that stuff we understand, right? Because in every career you have to deal with that sort of stuff. In music, it's just weird because it's alongside of the music itself. And it can be very, very interesting. This also comes at a time where, Phil's first marriage, I believe, had gone south. And that's why he had moved to Canada to try to rejuvenate that. And then he ended up moving back to the UK. And the band is like, okay, we came to prominence with Peter and we did our thing. And then Steve was with us and now Steve's not. And what are we going to be for the next decade? A few days ago, I looked at Moving Pictures by Rush for our Patreon. And it's a similar time period, the beginning of the 80s, and the music industry is looking forward, and times are changing and styles are changing, and Genesis is moving forward in their own personal lives and in their music and in their professional lives. And it's a fascinating bit of sounds, isn't it? Wonderful stuff. Thanks, y'all, for hanging out with me this week. We've had a wonderful week of episodes. I've got more planned for next week. This, though, has been Masterpiece Friday and the Duke Suite by Genesis. Thank you, Ten, for suggesting this to us. It was a great time listening to it. Thanks to all of you for hanging out with me today, and we will see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.